Good morning and welcome to the show. This is In Touch, our weekly half-hour public affairs program. At the end of the program today, if you are a nonprofit group or organization, if you are a company here in the Hudson Valley helping out a nonprofit group or organization, we'd like to talk about what is important to you, whether it's development, whether it is just community awareness, whatever it may be. At the end of the program today, I will give you a myriad of ways of which you can contact me so that you can be on the show, so that you can talk about your story and what is important to you. So let me turn on some microphones. We have a guest in the studio. We have a guest on the phone, which is pretty cool. We haven't done that in a while. So we are going to be talking about Bike for Cancer Care. Those who listen to the program know that this is one of the many great events that happen here in the Hudson Valley. One of the organizations that we believe in, that I believe in, that we support. So we have Dan Gruner here in studio. Once again, he's willing to put himself behind the microphone. He's representing the Gruner family. So, Dan, thank you very much again for coming and for being here.
Thank you.
And we have on the phone Dr. Bruce Moore, who is chairman of radiology at Health Alliance of the Hudson Valley and also one of the founding partners for River Radiology. So, Dr. Moore, thank you very much for taking the time out and joining us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Beth.
So this is great that you guys are here. As I mentioned in the intro, this is the 11th year?
Yes.
Right, Dan? This is the 11th year. And every year we've been able to be a part of it.
You have been since the beginning, and we appreciate that.
Which is really great because, a lot of times when folks will come by on the show, I see it just from the show's perspective, just based on that interview of how things have changed, how things have grown. But that's not the case with this. Like, I've seen it with my own eyes every year. What happens? The look on people's faces when they show up, why people show up, why people come back every year. So, Dan, kind of give us a little bit of that history about the event.
Yeah, the event started, we lost our mom to cancer in May of 2003, and our family was very touched by what the community did for us during our mom's treatment. And we had some conversations, my siblings and I, along with my brother-in-law, and we also learned a lot about some of the things our mom did for people. She was a very charitable person, but very quietly and on a one-on-one basis, and one of the things we did not know about until her wake. And as you heard more of these stories and we were touched by them, we also learned that there were a lot of people out in the community that at the time we said, we're either fighting cancer alone or they're diagnosed and their world gets turned upside down. And we decided we wanted to do something about it. We didn't really know what we were going to do, how we were going to do it. We just made a commitment that we were going to do it. And one Saturday morning, we sat around the kitchen table throwing out ideas, and I said to my family, I said, I'd previously ridden in a bike ride up in Boston in memory of a friend I lost to brain cancer called the Ride for Research. And it was just an incredible event because it touched families, it raised a lot of money, and that was really the morphus behind the Bike for Cancer Care, which we launched to raise money to help people with living expenses while they're undergoing treatment. And what we didn't know at the time was the enormity of the need. Mm-hmm. And what we found over time is we developed a system for gift cards to Stewards for Gas or groceries at Hannaford. And the first year we gave out about $14,000. And then, all of a sudden 3-4 years later, that jumps to $50,000. Last year, $90,000.
Wow.
So we over time looked at the bike ride as it's always been the vehicle to raise money to support the fund. But we've had to raise the bar each year and to continue to help these people. And I always remember one of the biggest things to me is that initially we kind of felt we were helping people on the lower income spectrum. We help a family if they have income of less than $50,000 or a single $35,000. But one of the things that really stuck to me is when I met a woman who was self-employed. She was diagnosed, and now all of a sudden she's out of work. She was not in any type of financial hardship until her diagnosis. So
right.
We've learned a lot along the way. And what we're finding is that, we're helping people from all walks of life. And kind of that's another aspect of carrying on our mom's mission of really helping whoever needs help. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is we're proud to say, 11 years later and helping over 1,000 families, we still do it one at a time.
Right.
And that will never change because we feel that's important. We want it to be quiet. We want it to be immediate. We want it to be one-on-one because you'd be surprised. Many people will say somebody else needs it more.
Right.
Go help that person. And we say, no, there's enough here to help you and the next person. That's why we need to keep raising more money through the Bike for Cancer Care to keep that going.
Every year there is a lady who comes up and talks to me. I don't know her name. She doesn't tell me her name, and that's okay. She's very gentle and she's very quiet, and every year she comes over and she says hi, and she every year reminds me that the reason that she's there is because she received help.
Mm-hmm.
And how much it meant to her, and she wants to make sure that she helps someone else. Those are the moments and those are the people that, even though I don't know her name, this is why this event is so important. This is how this has touched so many people, that people want and they understand how gracious this is and how much it helps at a time when I think it's safe to say, and Dr. Moore, we're going to bring you in the conversation here, that someone has been given a diagnosis to which they may feel they have no control at all.
Yeah, that's how it starts. It's incredibly difficult to come to terms with the diagnosis, and equally incredibly difficult to come to terms with the treatment and the ramifications of treatment. Not only whatever illness and inconvenience it causes, but the expense that basically strips people of their earnings, strips people of their savings. And in the case, as Dan said, in the case of an individual who is self-employed, basically leaves them nearly destitute. The reason, I support Dan and his family in this effort is that as a physician, I see patients right up front, and I see what happens to them. I see the situations they're in where they have to make choices of what they're going to spend their money on. And it just troubles me no end to see patients reduced to that situation. Now, what Dan does with his organization is he gives direct help to these people. Not a lot of bureaucracy, not a lot of papers to fill out. It's just pure help. It's somebody in the community has an organization that's helping people in the community. Not that research and other charities that go for cancer cure aren't valid. They're certainly valid, and I wouldn't put them down. But with the Gruner Foundation, you actually see immediate results, and for me, that's what it comes down to. I see a patient in trouble. I want to help them.
Right.
And we have a weekly cancer board or tumor board where we do multidisciplinary discussions of how to manage patients. We have physicians, oncologists, surgeons, radiologists, and we have social workers and nutritionists, so we can really optimize a cancer treatment plan that is unique and optimal. And time and again, the social worker says, yes, this person's getting a gift card from the Gruner Foundation. Yes, this patient needed it for gas. Yes, for food. And it's just integral to care in this community now.
Dr. Moore, let me ask you a question. For someone who may not know, obviously people know and understand that there are various types of cancers. When you were talking about the fact that someone needs radiation, someone may say, and believe it or not, I've heard people say, well, that can't be that bad. That's got to be easier than the chemotherapy. And I would like to hear your answer of that so that people understand of what this does, like you said, the treatment and why it has such an impact on an individual and a family.
Well, I'm a diagnostic radiologist, so I can't really address the ins and outs of radiation therapy, but I can tell you from the patients that I've had and been working with that radiation can be very trying. It saps your energy. If it's chest radiation, you'll have an achy chest. You may have inflamed skin. You don't want to do anything. You feel you can't do anything, much like chemotherapy can do. And with radiation therapy, there are multiple trips to and from the Radiation Oncology Center.
Right.
So having to get into a car, let's say you're having breast radiation, you've got a sore breast and a sore arm, well, you can't drive.
Right.
Not safely. So you have to have a friend. If you don't have a friend, you're stuck. You call a cab. Where do you have the money to get the cab fare? So it's when you look at the actual therapy situation and what it requires of a patient, it's a lot more than it would seem.
Right, and that's what I wanted folks. That's what I wanted folks to know. I mean, my husband was diagnosed with leukemia. This was before I knew him. He had full body radiation. He went through a bone marrow transplant. That was in his 30s. He's 55 now. When I hear him talk, and like I said, it was before I knew him, and so when he tells me of what people had to go through, and then recently we had a very good friend, my friend Elizabeth, who was one of his oncology nurses.
Yeah.
She became ill, and I saw it firsthand. And as you said, you're going through this. You've been given the diagnosis. You're going through the treatment. It's overwhelming, to say the least, let alone with what is going on physically with you, that you're like, some days you just can't.
Absolutely.
And you need people around you.
Absolutely. You need a support network. You need a support network of people who can help you, if it's with cooking and food
Right.
preparation. You need people to help drive you around. You need people to simply talk to and lift your spirits, because it can be daunting.
And that's one of the things, Dan, too, that I think not only do you guys, when you provide the gas cards, that's a relief. You've helped de-stress someone, but you've also given them some light. You've given them some hope. You've given them something good. So you're helping out on the fiscal end, but you're helping out I think on the emotional and the spiritual end as well.
Yeah, and I share the same story over and over, because I think it defines who we are. And this was going back 5 years ago now. A woman that we had helped, I had arranged to meet with her, because I'd never really had the opportunity to sit down and talk to somebody that we helped. We do receive a lot of testimonials in the mail and thank you cards, but this woman had said to me, the cards arrived, and she said it allowed her to maintain her dignity.
Oh.
And it said it allowed my mind to rest while my body worked with the radiation. And I remember sitting there in a coffee shop fighting to not cry, because I felt I would make her emotional. And just within the last 2 weeks, I received a note from a woman that her and her husband had one car, and that car broke down. She then had to rely on friends to get back and forth to treatment.
Right.
And she said to me in the letter, she said, the gift cards allowed me a small piece of dignity to pay forward to my friends who are kind enough to drive me to and from the treatment 3 days a week. And she lived, I think she said, about 40 miles away. With gas prices what they are today.
Right.
That's a lot. But you're right. Our goal is to give somebody ease of mind. With all the things Dr. Moore talked about, if we can just be one little piece of the puzzle to make sure they have food in the fridge and gas in the car, that's ultimately what our goal is.
And I liked how Dr. Moore described it. There's not a ton of paperwork. This is an individual or individuals helping out an individual. It is the simplest of things that really means so much, which I think is one of the best things ever, and which is one of the things why I believe people come back to the ride every year. Not only is it a great event, it's fun. It's fun when you're there that day. There's an awful lot going on. There's a lot, like if you want to challenge yourself from one year to the next to maybe do the longer bike ride, there's a personal thing that you can do, but you're also raising funds that are really helping so many people. So let's talk about the ride, the date. Let's get down to the nitty gritty so folks go, okay, I'm in. How do I help? What do I do?
It's Sunday, September 21st this year at Dietz Stadium in Kingston. There's a 50-mile ride at 8:30, a 25-mile ride at 10 o'clock, a 12-mile ride at 10:30, and the Kids Round Robin, which we launched last year, is at 11 o'clock, and that's inside the grounds of Dietz Stadium. There's a half-mile loop on the outer part of the stadium, and the kids have 30 minutes to compete to see how many laps they can do, which, if you weren't there last year, it's a lot of fun to watch and a lot of fun for the kids. So we're hoping that grows nicely. And then we have a youth bike rodeo from 10 a.m. to noon that focuses on bike safety, bike training for the younger kids, and that's right inside Dietz Stadium as well. And we, as we always do, we recognize the top 3 fundraisers, individual and teams, at the award ceremony afterwards. There'll be live music again this year.
Yep.
And it is fun. When we built this, we knew and we took pride in building an event. Our dad had one request, and that was to go to people's pockets once a year.
Yeah.
The risk in that is you have to go all in. So we really work hard to make sure not only is it a fun event, it's a safe event, and we want you to come back every year. That's how we grow. Mm-hmm. So we work pretty much at this point all year round on it. And, I always say I might be the guy out in front here, but there's a whole team of people, starting with my brother and sister-in-law and my 2 sisters and their husbands. My dad's still actively involved. And then, an army of about 125 volunteers is what makes the day go. And we could never do it without, the people in our community, from the Kiwanis Club to the, there's a whole women's group that my sister's involved, Junior League.
Yeah.
I knew the name would come to me eventually.
That happens to all of us.
But that's, that is the focus. The focus from the beginning was on families, because we took the mindset of what the fund does and helps not only the patient but the family. So let's parlay that into an event that the whole family can do. And we make it, we've always kept the entry fee reasonable, because our goal is to get as many people at the event with the message of what we are here to do is to help cancer patients and their families. And with the great support of our business community, led by Dr. Moore and River Radiology, and Hannaford Supermarkets has become a terrific partner. And there's many more companies that enable us to keep our costs down. Because, ultimately I want to be able to talk to a sponsor, talk to an individual donor, and tell them, your money's going directly back into this program. We're not paying excess fees to, either put the event on or to run our programs. And that's something, I think, at the end of the day, that's probably what I'm most proud about. It's 11 years later, we're still a 100% volunteer organization.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me ask you this question. I know that Bike for Cancer Care is on Facebook. I've liked the page. I follow the page. There's also a website. Are there any, sometimes folks get a little nervous. They feel like, I'm not really going to be able to raise that much money. I mean, I have friends, but I'm sure everybody else is going to, have some secret, or they're going to do so much better. What do you say to someone like that, and some help that they could get?
Well, new this year, it only took us 10 years to realize that we've always asked people to raise money, but never gave them any tools to do so. So, this winter, we launched an online fundraising and registration system called Friends Asking Friends. In a matter of 10 minutes, you can have your own web page set up. There's all the fundraising tools in there. There's electronic letters in there. You can share it on Facebook. You can share it on Twitter. You can create a team page. So if there's 5 members of a team all raising money, that'll all funnel back into the team page. And I always tell people that I think if you tell somebody our story, or even a part of our story, and that unfortunately more people than that I talk to have had an experience with cancer.
Right.
And when you can explain to somebody that we are boots on the ground helping people in the manner we do, it resonates with people. And I always say the hardest thing is that first ask.
Right.
I mean, it fortunately comes natural to me at this point. I probably asked 50,000 times, and my uncle kids me that people cross the street when they see me. But
Dr. Moore is laughing. I don't know what that means. I don't know if you heard that, but he's laughing. Okay.
keep my hands in my pocket.
I'll call you afterwards.
Okay.
I love that. I love that. So the website people can go to.
bikeforcancer.org, and it's bikeforcancer.org.
And on that site is where they'll be able to get to what you were just talking about, which makes it so easy. You can share it on Facebook. You can create your own website. Then that way the person isn't dealing with the money. You guys, you've set all that up. It's really a great tool.
Once you go to the website and you just click on the registration button, you're automatically connected. From the end user, it's all one system.
So let me ask you this question. What if someone says, I can't ride this year? There's something going on. They can still go to this page and sign up and be able to create something and share it on Facebook to get folks to still raise funds.
Yeah, technically you do not have to ride to raise money.
I'm raising my hand on that one because I'm the one that I'll be behind the microphone. I will not be riding. So my friends should just be prepared for this on my Facebook page. Okay, good. This is your warning.
Yeah, I always say I don't turn money away.
Okay, good. I didn't think so, but I'm always the one that's going to ask that question. Like, if folks can help out in a myriad of ways. The one other thing too that I always like to say is what's interesting is it's been an honor to have been a part of this every year, and I've seen people that started with what used to be the family fun ride, and then go up to the 25-mile ride. Maybe do that for a year or two. And then a few have gone up to the 50. So it's always interesting. That's what I mean. You're raising funds. Like you said, boots on the ground. You're helping individuals, as Dr. Moore said, you're helping people. You see it. He sees it. He sees what it does. But yet you're also kind of challenging yourself and seeing what you can do. And you guys do a lot of planning for the bike routes and seeing where it goes. And so it's a nice ride.
Yeah, it is. We're very fortunate that, I always say the Hudson Valley is one of the best places to bike in the country. And, we've been able to take advantage of that. And I always say that you'd be surprised what you can do. And, my cousin, for instance, uses the 50-mile ride. He's a teacher, so he will tell, teachers, you give me X amount and I'll ride the 25-mile ride. You give me Y and I'll ride the 50. So he incorporates that into his fundraising, and it works well. And by the way, he usually meets his goal and has to ride the 50.
Oh, I like how you go, he has to ride the 50. Yeah. He must ride the 50. Dr. Moore, you've been awfully quiet, and for that I apologize. But want to bring you back around the conversation as we're getting ready to wrap things up.
Sure.
What are some of the thoughts that you'd like to share with folks as we are just about to enter into this year's event?
Well, I would hope that everybody would participate in one way or the other, either riding, donating, in whatever way they can, because as you indicated that, and Dan indicated that cancer is so common, touches all of us one way or another, and we're in a community and we want to help each other, and it's as simple as that. That's kind of my feeling, and that's why I'm involved in this, and my partners are involved in this. We see so many patients, and we want to just give back.
Yeah, I have to say, Dr. Moore, you're with proof of how busy you are with your phone ringing. People are like, no, we need you. No, you don't need to apologize. That's another reason why I'm so grateful that you took the time to be on the phone with us today, because I don't think that that's an easy thing for you to do.
No, it isn't. That's why I couldn't come to the studio.
Yeah. So I think that's why I say thank you so very, very much. And Dr. Moore, let me ask you one other thing. If someone is listening this morning, and maybe they've not been feeling well, they're not 100% sure, where do people start? Like some people say, well, were there symptoms? Were there not? Where do I go? What do I do? What are some things you could tell folks?
Well, the first thing, if you're not feeling well, or if you're feeling out of sorts in a way that you've never felt, then you should see your primary care physician. That's the first stop.
Right.
And then you'll give your history, and if it seems that there's something a little bit out of the ordinary, then you'd be referred for a number of tests. And if the tests show nothing in particular, that's reassuring. But if there's some abnormality, then it gets pursued. And the primary care physician is really the starting place. He knows your history,
right,
your or she knows your history, and they're the right person to coordinate your care.
Yes, and I think, too, sometimes people will be afraid and they'll wait.
Oh, absolutely. There's this this secret fear that, yes, I have something really bad inside of me, and I don't really want to face up to it. That's human nature, unfortunately.
Right.
It loses time, but that's who we are.
So if you can get yourself to the doctor and not listen to that voice, that would be better.
Right. Just, that way you go to the doctor, you get it off your chest.
Right.
And it may be nothing.
Yes. I completely agree. I always like to add that in because there's so many different folks that are listening to us this morning. That some people are just coming home from work. Some people are getting up for work. Some people can't sleep. Some people, they're up with a little one. And so you never know. And you never know who you may touch, and you never know who may need to hear exactly what you've just said.
Sure.
So thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Moore. So, Dan, the date is September 21st.
Yep.
It's at Dietz Stadium. The website is bike4cancer.org. You guys are on Facebook. And as you mentioned, there is the 12-mile ride, 25-mile ride, the 50-mile ride. There's the bike rodeo. There's the round robin ride. So it's no longer, you're in the stadium. So if you have younger kids, it's a cool thing to do.
Yep.
Because you're all right there. We're all right there. There's going to be food afterwards. There's live music afterwards. And so, those are the basics: who, what, when, where, why. But Dan, final thoughts you'd like to leave with folks this morning?
Yeah, I was thinking as you were talking, in that I typically don't put this out there, but right now we're on pace to give out $102,000 this year.
Wow.
So we have set a public goal to raise $125,000 at the Bike for Cancer Care this year. It's a goal I've always kept in my head, but it's time to go public, and I'd like to ask everyone to help us get there. Whether you can donate $5, $100, or $500, every piece of it goes to the cause. And in addition to River Radiology and Hannaford Supermarkets as platinum sponsors, Central Hudson has joined on this year.
Oh, cool.
Timely Signs is back again, doing everything and anything they can do for us. Paul and Joe Bikert are just fantastic partners. Anita Williams-Peck, and of course, Town Square Media. So, if you haven't done it, as long as it's dry, you'll even have fun if it rains. We manage to have fun in the rain too. But I do think you will have fun, whether it's the round robin ride or the 50-mile ride. We bring the same approach to the entire day. So I would like to encourage you and publicly ask everybody to help us however you can this year.
Yes, absolutely. Dr. Moore, thank you so very, very much for taking the time out of your day to join us.
That was my pleasure.
Thank you. And Dan, thanks so much, because you always say that you have so many people behind you, but I think at times like this, I think you have the hardest job as you tell why it all began and what it is that you're trying to do and how this is so important, and not everyone is able to do that. So thank you for being willing to put yourself behind the microphone and do all that, because that's not easy.
My pleasure, and thank you for everything you do to support us.
Yes, and we will continue to do so. So thanks, gentlemen, and as I pot these guys down, and let me tell all of you, if you want to hear this program again, you can. You can listen to it on the website of whatever radio station you happen to be listening to right now. You can also contact me to get more information or maybe answer any questions about the show today. 845-471-1500. My extension is 159. You can also use that number if you would like to be on the program and talk about what is important to you. You can reach out to me, email beth.christie@townsquaremedia.com. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Pinterest, I'm probably on too many things, but you can find me if there's anything that you need. We're right here. Take care of yourself and those you love, and we'll see you right here next week.